Low-resolution pictures look like pictures. High-resolution ones look like digital renderings of a scene. Let's take a step back. You might have noticed in the last couple of years that there has been a growing trend in low resolution and old and sometimes even archaic digital cameras. You might rightfully be wondering, what is all the fuss about? After all, we have struggled for years, at first just 1 or 2 megapixels at a time, to get to a level of decent performance. And now we live in an era of plenty, with 100 plus megapixels at our disposals, even if not often at a reasonable price. The low-res craziness part is just that, a fad. Like most fads, it will blow up at some point, and with just a bunch of people that will stick with it because they really like the results they're getting. Think about what's happened with vinyl LPs. As one of the very first to appreciate the allure of low resolution, count me in among these diehards that will stick around long after these will not attract clicks anymore. But why? Because pictures then look like pictures again. With most subjects, it is exactly the slight lack of sharpness compared to a 60 or 100 megapixel master that renders relatively low-resolution images less hyper-real and more photographic in rendering. Thank you for watching, and please do not forget to subscribe. The explanation requires a little bit of background. I grew up shooting high-resolving slide film and projecting the resulting slides on a screen. Kodak Hectachrome 64 at first, then Fujichrome Velvia 50 or probably 100. The pictures from those beautiful slides, when bathed in the warm light of my cheap reflector projector, appeared smooth as silk and rich in a myriad of color nuances. You see, slides in reality are not high contrast because you have to like that look, but instead because they were meant to work in symbiosis with the light coming through them from a projector, a light that softened them up considerably, letting you see all the tones and shades of the colors. When you think of slides as high contrast, we are really thinking about their results when printed on Cibachrome, like historical has been done, or when they are improperly scanned. That's why pretty much every YouTuber working with slides will tell you at some point that the experience of looking at slides on a light table is incomparable, incredible, or something along these lines. Slides are meant to be seen with some kind of light passing through them, compensating the contrast. Back to the point. When you look at 35mm slides, how they were meant to be seen, you were rewarded with wonderful tones and, importantly for our topic, a perceived resolution that was at the same time really high, but silky smooth as well. This effect was due to the high acutance of most slide films, paired with the relatively low resolution of a piece of film that was still just 24 by 36mm in size. Yes, even Velvia's resolution compared to digital is terrible. To this day still, almost nothing beats film for color in my opinion though. Sigma Foveon cameras come very close in perfect, and I mean perfect lighting conditions, but fall awfully short if the light is too contrasty. Besides, they are so sharp that I often have to blur the results a tiny little bit. And a low-resolution camera like the otherwise great Fujifilm X100S has more of a distinctive digital look in terms of the way it renders the sharpness. Still exceptional, but something else. For my taste, the best approximation is instead a relatively low-resolution camera, let's say around 10-12 megapixels, possibly, but not necessarily CCD-based. This for a shorter, more slight film compressed dynamic range. Not all cameras, sensors and processors are created equal though, so there are a few that I love, even if they do not conform to these requisites. For example, the amazing Nikon D2X, CMOS based, or the Canon 5D Mark II, CMOS and 21 megapixels. A few pros. These cameras used to cost really cheap, but even in today's craziness about low-resolution gear, they still can be had for a reasonable price. The results are generally wonderful in terms of colors, very slide-like, also thanks to the reduced dynamic range after you process the files. With Canon actually even straight from the camera if you tweak their JPEG profile a bit. A big plus is that a lower resolution sensor has a really low pixel density, so I can actually handle the camera at a decent shutter speed without inducing camera shake just because, I'm alive. Importing, exporting and working on these files in Lightroom is extremely fast, even on old machines. Most importantly, the resolution is rounded, smooth, instead of that ugly digital bite that you get from 24 megapixel onward. The cons. The low dynamic range is also a downside, because you will be forced to make a choice in high contrast situations. Nothing new for people that grew up or now use film, but a touch disconcerting for the average modern digital shooter. By the way, this is actually a good thing as well, and we'll see why in a future video. Obviously, the low resolution if you need a bigger print that your camera can give you. This was a big issue back in the old days. But now the landscape has changed considerably, thanks to the introduction of software like the incredible Topaz Gigapixel AI. With this one I can upscale even my ancient Nikon D70 files to truly gallery-sized prints and still have amazing quality. So, compact digicams aside, they are too numerous to list and their quality is not so great, which are my favorite low resolution cameras. Price aside, because you can almost always find a good deal if you're patient. I paid for my Leica M9 only a few €100 because nobody took notice of the auction. My top picks among cameras that I've either used in the past or still use are the Canon EOS 1DS Mark II, 16 megapixel. The Canon EOS 5D, 12 megapixel. The Canon EOS 5D Mark II, 21 megapixel. The Leica M8, 10 megapixel. The Leica M9, 18 megapixel. The Nikon D2X, 12 megapixels. And the Nikon D70, 6 megapixels. Lastly, the Olympus OMD EM10, 16 megapixels. Honorable mention in the sense that they will not give you results as good as the cameras that I talked about before, but on the plus side, they are way smaller and really pocketable. Two 20 megapixel 1-inch sensor cameras, the Panasonic Lumix LX15 or LX10 in some other market, and the Sony RX100. I've got the Mark IV, but there are several generations and they are all exceptional essentially. If I were to choose just one or two of these, for color, I would be hard-pressed between the Canon 5D original, the classic, and the Leica M8 or M9, even if in the end the Canon will prevail considering it costs 1/10 or less of the price of a Leica. For black and white, the two main contenders will be the Leica M8 again, and surprisingly the Sony RX100. So take out from the drawer your old low-resolution camera, if you still have one, and have a blast. Happy pictures, and see you next week. In the meantime, you might be interested in looking at this video here.